I'm here for it, sister. Let's go. Let's go.
Oh, I was pissed. I'm like, how come you didn't see that the first time? I was like,
I'm going to tell you how you steal it, and then I'm going to tell you why you steal it.
We had to cancel the sale. We canceled the listing. And to this day, that house is still sitting there. The guy who actually owned the house is like, I can't even enjoy it because I'm nowhere near it. I can't put a tenant in it because that guy's in it. And I can't sell it. What do you do?
Jana, we have very different approaches, just so you know. We have very different approaches.
In a crowd of 30 offers, how do you stand out?
To me, it's not always about terms. To me, it's not always about the best offer. To me, a lot of times it can also be about the relationship that you can have.
Welcome to the Moxie and Jana show.
I mean, we are spilling some real tea up in her, okay?
So we have aptly named our little show, Spilling Real Tea with Jana and Moxie.
Get it? Tune in and listen to us share all our crazy, wildly unbelievable crap that we see, do, and navigate in the insane world of real estate.
And we're talking everything.
We got it all, y'all.
Straight out of KC, and we spilling it.
Hey, girl. Hey. Hey.
Hey.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
It's been a little chilly.
That's an understatement of the world.
We'll get to that, though, when we talk about our fun off-the-record stuff. Awesome.
True. So tune in, because I got a story that I shouldn't tell. Okay? True story. I didn't even tell Jana this story yet, so y'all are going to be in for it. Okay?
Oh, Jesus. Here we go. Here we go.
Okay.
She's like surprising me.
Okay.
Always surprises. Full of surprises.
And I can't believe when I tell this story that I'm going to tell this story because I'm so disappointed in myself. It's unbelievable. But you got to wait
have to do with poop?
Almost...
Hold on.
No, it doesn't have to do with poop.
There's no
It
poop.
does not have to do with poop.
Okay.
There's a little pee. There's a little pee. There's no poop. But we're not telling that story yet. We're going to wait till the end. And I'm...
Folks, we're switching orifices.
Whatever. All I remember is there's pee. There's pee. I can't remember.
Ew. No.
I'm embarrassed, but
Oh
I'm
my
going to
God.
tell the story because we're real on here, right?
So
right?
here's my little caveat, though. Okay, so I'm getting over COVID. I'm getting over 2024 COVID, which is different than 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023 COVID. So just FYI, if I start coughing, I apologize. So if I recall, you have a very interesting little story time that you're going to tell us about. Stolen homes. Selling stolen homes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think before I've kind of like glazed over this story, I think. I'm not gonna
Glazed over
guarantee
it?
that's true. Glazed donut. Oh man, I'd love a Krispy Kreme. Anyways, I digress. I helped a buyer from Colorado buy a home in Kansas City. It was an investor. Well, then they were like, hey, we're sick of the property managers in Kansas City. We want to sell. Okay, no problem. So I actually happened to have a buyer that wanted to buy homes, the exact same kind of homes that they had in the same areas. They were willing to kind of deal with the issues. And so I was like, hey, I have a buyer. Like, this works out perfect. So we went to go through the process and they said, well, there's a tiny issue. I said, what's the issue? They go, well, our home has been stolen. And we're actually in court. We're in court right now to get the stolen home back in our names. And I was like,
my God.
I'm sorry, what? How does the what? So
How does something get...
how do you steal a house?
How does a house get stolen? I'm curious.
Girl, I'm over here like, how do you steal a house? This is a whole house. Okay,
It's a whole ass house. How do you steal it?
A whole...
You just lift it
it's a
up
whole
off
house.
the foundation and take it away? Mm-hmm.
Right.
No.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you how you steal it, and then I'm going to tell you why you steal it. But don't take notes, guys, because I don't want you to do this. But
This is criminal house stealing 101.
don't do it. Okay, so if you do, whatever, that's your whatever. But this is what happened. I don't know if everybody knows this, but our deeds to our homes are actually public record. And so you can go to the courthouse or online and you can actually see the deed to everybody's home. And on that deed is everybody's signature. So these people went online got the deed, copied the signature on a quick claim deed, a quit. Just so everybody knows,
Yeah.
it's a quit.
There's a
With a
T in
T?
there. There's not a
There's
C.
a T, not a K or a
K.
C, or I don't
Yeah.
know.
Whatever the fuck that
It
was.
is a quit because they're quitting the claim. It's a quick claim deed. Anyways, wow, I really digressed on that one. Anyways, so they signed a quit claim deed. And in the process of a quit claim deed, you have to have it notarized. And so not only did they forge the seller's or the owner's signature on the quit claim deed, a notary also lied it was fraudulent.
Not that the notary didn't catch it. The notary was complicit.
Complicit.
Awesome.
100% complicit. Yes. All right. So 12-month process. That's how long it took to get this house back. And so we were essentially under contract to purchase for 12 months. It was insane. And it cost my owners $8,000 to do the entire lawsuit as well. And let me tell you what happened to the crooks. Nothing.
What?
Nothing happened to the crooks. Because what can they do? They gave the house back. How are you going to prosecute them? They didn't actually
they have
get
damages.
anything.
They have a civil case.
They didn't even get a civil case. They didn't get their court costs paid. They didn't get anything. The judge
were just ready to
ruled,
wipe their hands and move on.
Yep. They were like, "What do we even do?" And it's because
their attorney sucked. Just saying. Anyway,
I don't know. I never got involved. Thank you, Jesus. I never got involved. But here's the interesting part of that I learned in this process. The biggest reason why people do this, and this will blow your mind. And as a consumer, I think everyone should understand this. If Jim Bob, I'm sorry if you're listening and your name is Jim Bob and I'm using that in like a...
Jim Bob, we apologize.
It's not because of that. It's just the first thing that came to my head. So Jim Bob goes and steals your home through this quick claim process. And then guess what Jim Bob does? Guess what he does, Jana?
Tries to sell it?
No, even worse.
What?
He takes out a line of credit on your home on his behalf. Right? So you got a $600,000 house. Okay. Jim Bob is now the owner. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He goes, let's say that he says he has zero equity in the home now. It's deeded over. Everything is done. There is no issues. If they've got like sketchy people on all sides, he goes and he tries not a refinance. It's a home equity line of credit. Yes.
Right.
Which the process of a HELOC is a lot different than a cash out refi.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot less invasive. It's a lot of times they'll do like a desktop appraisal. It's a pretty simple process. Well, now Jim Bob just walked away with $200,000 cash, and you have a house that has a $200,000 loan on it that you had no idea existed. That is what they were doing. It's unbelievable.
But hold on. So when your buyer engaged to buy this house, Jim Bob was the owner, but Nancy Sue...
On paper.
Right. But Nancy Sue didn't know that Jim Bob had stolen her house. So
Correct.
She's trying to sell this house. She finds out she doesn't own the house through title. And
Correct.
Title's like, hey, you don't own this house. Jim Bob owns this house, and he has a $200,000 HELOC on it. So you not only can you not sell, but now you have debt on your property.
Yeah.
What the hell happened? How did that happen? How did you get out of all of that? Not you, your client.
So I'm giving you an understanding of what could happen. The Jim Bob taking out a HELOC didn't actually happen here because Susie found it so early, right? So that would have been the next step that Jim Bob would have taken. In our case, they figured it out so early that they were able to stop it through the courts, which was phenomenal. The problem is what happens if Susie hadn't figured it out, Jim Bob had taken out the HELOC, and now Susie's sitting here like, what do you mean? People have gotten mail in their mailbox saying you have not paid your mortgage. And they're like, this doesn't belong to this house. What are you talking about? And they're fraudulent cases that people are just walking away with this cash. And it's unbelievable. So it is the most unbelievable fraud.
How did she find out about it?
She went to sell it. Legitimately. She went to sell it. So this was prior to me. She found somebody privately to sell it to. And then they found out that there's this lien on it and they don't actually own it or whatever. She's like, what do you mean I don't own it? I own the house. And then through title and digging, they realized Jim Bob is now the owner, even though he's not really. And here's the thing proving it. And they said, that is not my signature. You can see plain as day, that is not my signature. So then they went forward with the process of finding a new buyer through me, and then also the years-long court case. It was horrible. It was horrible.
Gosh. Oh my
And
gosh.
the worst part, it was a $55,000 house. They probably walked away making about $3,000 after the $8,000 court costs. It was horrible. It was horrible.
Oh my gosh.
So you can have your house stolen. True story. Check your house. Check your title. You never know. You never know.
Holy cow. Okay. So you mentioned something to me when we were kind of talking about what we're, this particular story, that there's a product out there that can help protect you against this kind of stuff.
Yes. So you've heard of LifeLock, right?
I mean, I've
like
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So they if somebody steals your identity or has a bunch of money taken out in your name, they help stop that, or I don't know, up to $1 million. I don't really know 100%
so it's like a
how to
liability,
explain it,
like some kind of insurance policy kind of thing or something.
Kind of, but it's specific to identity. And in this case, it's specific to title fraud. So LifeLock specifically for years was just about identity and somebody taking your identity or taking money out in your name. Well, now they've added a new product to it, which is specific to if somebody steals your title. Who would have thought?
Oh my God. Clearly it happens. Somebody wouldn't have a whole ass product to deal with it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, true story. To hear the frustration and the devastation and the just like their hearts were just torn out. And I'll tell you right now, Jana, they will never own in Kansas City ever again. And I can't blame them. I can't blame them. I mean, that's going to happen anywhere, but...
Was it a local title company?
To do a quick claim deed, you don't even need a title company.
No. You just need to be able to record it. A notary and record it.
That's all you need, a fraudulent notary. So, yeah.
Oh my
Crazy.
God. That's insane. And I feel very, very bad for that woman that had to go through all of that just to only make $3,000. But at least she was able to save it. Because could you imagine if Jim Bob had been able to take out a $200,000 HELOC on a property, and then she just would have been screwed? I mean, she just, what do you do at that point? I mean, because I don't think your title insurance that you got when you bought the house would help cover that. We should have a title person. Come on.
That's an interesting question, actually. Who would cover something like that? I don't know.
Well, while we were talking about that, it made me think of a story that from a couple of years ago where I had a seller who didn't live here locally, and he had kind of a rent-to-own situation with a tenant. And it was the tenant, the new buyer, that called me. And it was like, we want to sell the house, and the owner, they're on paper, is totally fine with selling the house. So we'd like to go ahead and sell it. And can you help us out? And I was like, absolutely. So I go through and I get the title work done, the prelim title work done and everything's fine. They're both in agreement. They want to sell the house. They have an agreement on how they're going to split the funds. Like, they have all of that worked out. We find a buyer. The buyer is an investor person who's purchasing the home. We're the day before closing, and we find out that the tenant, who also has an equitable interest in the home, has a $250,000 federal tax lien filed against him personally.
Oh no!
From, get this, he was convicted of criminal felony drug charges like 35 years ago. 35 years ago. And he still has all of this, like, because they fine you, and they, you've got court costs, and you've got, whatever that compensation to the victims of your crime, all that stuff. Restitution. Thank you. So he has all of this, right? And it's like $258,000. Never paid a dime of it. So they went and attached it to literally everything that had his name on it. Well, remember, he has equitable interest. It was unrecorded equitable interest. So he wasn't on the lien search at the outset, right? He wasn't on the title search at the outset. So we get the day before closing, and the title company comes back to me, and they're like, Jana, one of your sellers has this massive federal tax debt. And I was like, what are you talking about? Oh, I was pissed. I'm like, how come you didn't see that the first time? I was like, unrecorded interest. So they wouldn't have known, right? Not their fault. We couldn't sell the house. So the seller, the guy, couldn't sell it because the house wasn't worth $250,000 to begin with.
Right.
And we had to cancel the sale. We canceled the listing. And to this day, that house is still sitting there. And basically, the guy who actually owned the house isn't making, I mean, he's not upkeeping the property. He's not paying taxes on it anymore or anything. Cause he's like, I can't enjoy it because I'm nowhere near it. I can't put a tenant in it because that guy's in it. And I can't sell it. What do? You just let it go.
So the tenant, that financial issue is permanently attached to that house?
Yes. So if he quit claim deeded his interest back to the seller, which he was not willing to do.
No, he won't do that.
Mm-mm.
Wow, what a predicament.
I know.
I had that happen once and I couldn't believe it. It was a $26,000 house and she had $38,000 worth of federal tax liens. And I'm like, yeah, we're not selling this house for you, pumpkin.
I mean, we can sell it. You're just going to have to bring the money to closing.
Which was definitely not an option. Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay, let's hop over to our topic of the day.
I'm super stoked about this topic of the day, by the way.
We're on episode 12. And so we've had quite a few people reach out to us with a buttload of questions about the process, things we haven't really talked a lot about.
And Jana, can we just say thank you for reaching out to us and asking us? Because I'll be honest, the more you reach out, the more I'm like, oh, they listened. We're pouring our hearts and souls into this. And it's like, I love to hear that people are listening and they care. And like, are you hearing us? I don't know.
Bueller.
Right?
Now we know. So keep them coming, please. Okay. So we've got, 5? I think we're going to do 5 questions today because some of these are going to get they could get very complicated. So I'm going to pose this first one to you, Moxie. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
So question from a listener. Do I have to sell my house first in order to buy a home?
No. Oh, do you want more explanation than that? Got it.
In certain situations.
Okay, let me give you more of an explanation. Okay, so let's say you own a home and you want to put an offer on a property, but you don't necessarily want to sell yours right now just because the timing can be a little stressful. Financially, if you can afford to not sell that house, you can put in an offer on the new home, what's called non-contingent, which is just a stronger offer in general. But here's the coolest part, and the part that I don't think anybody ever remembers, and I know not a lot of people are talking about. So you have home A that you currently live in. You put a non-contingent offer on home B. You buy home B. You move into home B. You now have home A, and you're like, I want to sell this. You sell home A, and you take the equity that you have in a home A, and you put it onto home B. Most people are like, oh, yeah, of course. Well, there's another step that people forget about. And it's called a recast. What is a recast? Well, I'll tell you. Thank you for asking.
Wait. Moxie.
What?
What's a recast?
Okay. Thank you for asking what a recast is, Jana. I will tell you. So you have home B. You have a new mortgage on it. It's got an interest rate of whatever. It's got a house payment of, let's just say $2,000 a month. You now have equity from home A. If you take equity from home A and you put it onto home B, anything over $10,000 that you put onto home B, you can call your mortgage company. Now you got to talk to the right person. And you can say, I would like to recast this loan. That takes your entire amount down. They recast it at the new loan amount and give you a whole new home monthly payment. That's the part people are forgetting.
And it's not a refinance.
It's not a refinance.
It's a recast.
And you know what it costs? Like $300 to do.
Yeah.
But can I tell you that the clients I've had do this, they're like, no one at this mortgage company understands what I'm talking about. So we've had to walk them through that, which is totally fine. But most people think if I just put this money to B, it will reduce my principal. You're right, it does. But it doesn't help at all on your monthly payment. And here's the other thing people don't know. Anytime it's over $10,000 that you are putting towards your payment, you can do a recast at that moment too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, $10,001. You can do a recast. You can recast as many times as you want. Yeah, so let's say that you're 15 years into a 30-year mortgage and you just want to lower your payment. If you automatically have an extra $10,000, you can put it towards that instead of a refinance, because we all like our interest rates that we're at, most of us. You just do a $10,000 payment towards that with the notion that you're going to do the recast, and they lower your monthly payment. It's crazy. People don't understand it. It's insane. So the short answer is no, you don't have to, as long as you financially qualify. If you don't financially qualify, you got to put your house on the market. You know, we got to have a good agent to do the negotiating and help you walk through the process. But It doesn't have to be that way if you can afford it. Good
Mhm.
question, listener. Here is the next question that someone has asked, and I'll propose this to you. Are inspections required when I buy a home?
No. Do you want to know more?
Tell me more.
I get this question a lot, actually. Well, let me back up. I actually get an assumption that I oftentimes have to address. Basically, they're like, oh, well, they'll catch that on inspections and they'll have to fix it. It's like, well, inspections aren't actually required. And they're like, well, we have a VA or an FHA loan, so they are required. I'm like, no, that's an appraisal. That's not an inspection. I think you do the same thing with your clients. Highly recommend that you do one.
Yeah.
It's good to
Yeah.
know what you're walking into, even if you're not going to make any repair requests or ask for anything. But when you're walking through the home and you're seeing things that maybe lead you to question, maybe there's a stain on the ceiling, or maybe there's a crack in the foundation that's, a V-shaped crack or something. And you're like, oh gosh, if you even remotely have a question of, I wonder if this is a bad, if this is a bad sign or if there's a bigger problem here or whatever it is, highly recommend that you do inspections with an InterNACHI certified inspector. But
Yeah.
no, never required. Never ever. However, buyer beware.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And let me tell you, on the agent side of things, when they don't do inspections, it makes me want to throw up in my shoes.
Well, we have an actual inspection disclosure that we have our buyers sign, regardless of whether they do inspections or not, just to try to explain what all those different inspections are and why they're important, and lists upon lists of certified inspectors and everything. But it could come back on us if they decided not to do inspections at some point down the road.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's a good
for
idea.
sure.
So what do you do? This was another question that we got from a listener who was asking about, what role does my agent play in the inspection process? So what do you do? What's your role when you're in the inspection process?
I think, to me, the agent plays almost the most important role in the inspection process.
Can I just say, as a member of your broker team, that makes me cringe just a smidge.
You'll hear why.
Okay.
So the inspector's job is to come up with all of these horrible things that are wrong with the home. That is their job. That is what they're paid to do. And it's as simple sometimes as the light bulb in the back room is burnt out. Like, legitimately.
There's a screen missing.
Yeah. So it can be minor things like that. The problem is when you have 45 minor things, you're fairly certain that the whole house is coming down around you. So to me, I have felt the energy of clients going through that process and the weight of every single tiny thing. You can just feel it crushing their souls. So to me, the agent plays such an important role in helping them understand, hey, I know this is going to feel like the worst news on the planet. My job is to emotionally prepare them for what is about to take place in this process. And then it's to say things like, hey, I know that, that outlet not working could be a concern. Maybe is that something that your dad could fix? Oh yeah, actually my dad knows Bob. He's an electrician. Oh, cool. So maybe not such a big deal. But the gas leak in the basement, we're going to mark that as a pretty big deal. I've had people call, like I couldn't make it to an inspection. I've had people call after the inspection. They're like, this house is falling down and there's water everywhere. And I call the inspector. I'm like, what is happening? Is the house on fire? He's like, there's one drip in a sink. And I found an issue in the attic. There's an animal's nest. And I'm like, okay, so it's not falling down around them. The inspector's job is to find the bad stuff. And the agent's job is to help the buyer process the bad stuff in a really good, knowledgeable, understanding way. Okay, so are you less afraid now?
No.
You're still cringy at that?
So maybe it'll help explain what I do in our inspections, like with our clients and stuff. And so I think the emotional side of it is what I worry about, right? As a broker, is just kind of like, you're trying to take some of the emotion out of it and reduce it down to a logical issue, which I think is absolutely appropriate. When we go into inspections, I kind of tell my clients, listen, the inspector's job is to point out every single nitpicky thing they can possibly find. Not because they're trying to tell you the house that you love and want to buy is going to be a terrible investment, but because that's what we're paying them to do. We want them to find literally
100%.
everything. Also note that for you, maybe a plumbing issue isn't going to be a big deal, but for someone who maybe lost their house in a flood or lost their house due to, frozen bursting pipes, it's going to be a bigger deal to them. The inspector is going to notate everything on the same level. But my job is to help you kind of look at it through a little bit of a different lens. There's two lenses. When we're looking at the inspection reports after the fact, and we're saying, okay, we're going to focus on issues of health, safety, and livability. So a missing screen, probably not going to get bent out of shape over. A broken window is a safety issue. A gas leak is a health issue and a livability issue. I usually will review the inspection report and then put those items in those individual buckets and say, if it were me, and it's not, but if it were me, here are the things that fall under health, safety, and livability. Totally up to you whether or not you want to ask for it. But then the second lens, when you ask a seller to make repairs, you do not get to tell the seller how or what to make the repairs or who even, other than licensed contractor, licensed plumber, licensed and insured this, licensed and insured that. You can say that, but you don't get to dictate how they make the repair. So if that light switch is inoperable and we're not ultra specific about how we write that up, they may just take the light switch out altogether.
They very well could. And that is an option.
I've seen that happen. So I kind of help them see yes, this is a bigger issue, but do you personally want to make sure that it's done right, the way you would want it done? Or do you want to let the seller do it because they're going to do it the cheapest, fastest possible way? And while we'll have a chance to go back and look at it to make sure it was done correctly, and while we're asking them to use licensed and insured contractors, it still may be Papa John that's coming in to take care of it. And he's going to do what his client is asking him to do. If it's something that you feel passionate that we make the repair for, then I think we should do that. So for me, the actual inspection itself, I don't participate. I sit, I listen, I let the inspectors walk them around and show them everything that they found if they want to see it and kind of talk them through it. My job happens on the backside. How do I synthesize this down? What are my recommendations going to be? How do I help them guide them on that? I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah, we're saying the exact same thing. Whenever they recap at the end, I just know that if I'm not there, the emotional breakdown that can happen is intense.
I've heard some agents talk about how they're actually helping, they're following the inspector around and pointing out things. I'm like, girl, you trying to get sued?
No. Yeah, that's not your job. Stay in your lane. That's why we hire these people.
Sit your ass down. Let them do their job.
Yeah. Entertain your client. What are you doing? No, I would. You're not catching me off that couch if I can help it.
You're not going to catch me outside.
Catch me outside. No, not going to happen.
Oh my gosh. That was an excellent question. Okay. You ready for the next one?
Yeah.
All right. She says, I am sick of looking at homes and not finding what I want. What do I do? I need to get into a home. What would you say to this?
I don't know. I think you need to answer this one.
So one thing that we do when we're working with a client, it's kind of up to us to figure out where they are in the process, especially first-time home buyers often need to see a lot of different houses to figure out what it is they really don't like and what it is they really want. But if we're looking and looking and looking and we're just not finding it, then we take an off-market approach. We use a lot of tools to help serve up properties that aren't currently on the market, but that are in the right neighborhood, have the right number of bedrooms and baths and things like that. And then we'll go speak to those homeowners to try to find something that's maybe slightly less competitive or that might have what they need as one element. The second element is we have our Flip to Buy Direct program that we work with our buyers on. So if we're looking at all these homes and they're like, I just cannot function without a gas stove and I have to have granite countertops and I need a fence and I need all these things and I just can't find it in my price point, we'll use that same strategy of finding homes off market, but then we'll use our Flip to Buy Direct program to actually purchase the home for them, rehab it with them so they get what they want in their house, and then sell it to them at market value at the end. And so we've done that a few times actually, and it's helped our clients who are really struggling to find, exactly what it is they're looking for within their price range. It's a little bit of a longer process, but
Jana, we have very different approaches, just so you know. We have very different approaches.
do tell.
You ready? God, you make me
I
sound...
feel like you think you're dropping a bomb.
You just make me sound like the worst real estate agent in the world because you have all of these wonderful processes And me, I'm over here like, suck it up, buttercup. Let's keep going until you find the house you want. Like,
for real?
Yes, like put on your bootstraps. I'm here for you. I get it. I understand. I'm right there with you. I'm fatigued too. I'm frustrated too. Baby girl, your home is waiting for you. I truly believe homes wait for their buyers. I know as agents, we say that all the time. It seems so cliche, but it's true. I have had conversations with people before where they're like, I'm just so tired of looking. And I'm like, okay, then let's stop looking.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, no, I don't want to. I'm like, okay, well, then let's be more specific on our parameters so that we're also not fatiguing you in the same time as fatiguing me. I'll get out there and be fatigued. Girl, I showed in a 24-hour period the other day to one buyer who was in town for less than 2 days, 23 homes. Like, talk about buyer fatigue, right? The problem is if we're just looking to look, go look with somebody else. I'm sorry, princess. I have 4 other people that want to go look today too. I know that sounds horrible. I told you, you're going to make me sound like the worst agent ever. If we're looking with realness and we're not just out trying to see what the best bathroom we can find is, and we have realistic expectations.
Try not to fit the square peg in the round hole. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if you're looking and you just cannot find the right thing because you have a need that is absolutely necessary, or like my husband, he had 13 things on his list that he had to accomplish. Well, we accomplished 11 of them buying this house. So he had to meld on 2 of them. Poor baby. But
Kenny, could you imagine Kenny whining in the corner?
well, he's also real slow to make a decision, and he didn't have any time on this house because it was 4 hours on the market. And I was like, we're putting in this offer. But what I tell people is, if you're serious and you want this house and you want a house, put on your boots and let's go. You're exhausted from looking at houses. Let's keep going. You're sad you're never going to find anything. Let's keep going. You're worried that you're never going to get that 3-car garage in your price range with a halfway decent kitchen. Let's keep going. So literally, suck it up, buttercup, or stay home. Those are your options. I don't know what else to say, because we're either going to find a house with pure grit and determination, or we're not. And if you're not grit and determination focused, then you need to probably stay home because it's going to devastate you.
Yeah, I guess I'm definitely like, I don't want to lose this opportunity to get you into a home. If you really want to get into a house, I don't want you to take a back seat, sign another lease, all that jazz. If there's an option available. And so,
but sometimes there's just not options available.
True. Absolutely. And truthfully, sometimes there needs to be a conversation of, okay, you want a 3-car garage, you want a fenced 1/4-acre backyard, you want to be within 5-minute walking distance to grocery store and schools. Unfortunately, the price points in that area don't match your budget. So either we need to reassess your budget,
right,
or we need to reassess your needs or your wants.
Yeah.
And make some adjustments there too.
Yeah. But, I mean, I have a client right now that we have an offer out. If this stupid seller would sign this offer.
Listen, seller.
Well, they verbally accepted it, and they've texted me they accepted it. Just freaking accept it. But anyways, this buyer, they had some unrealistic expectations on the house and on price and on area. And we had to do a readjust. And we readjusted. They pivoted very, very quickly. And now we found a phenomenal home. I'm talking phenomenal. In their price range, in the area, better area than they even wanted to be in. I mean, it is absolutely knock it out of the park stunner. Can I tell you how many payments I had to run for her though? Payment options. I have an app that I use that they can use too. And I'm running a payment, even though maybe I shouldn't because I'm not a lender, but I can run the same. Yeah, it's just an estimate. I probably ran 45 homes for her. Had I not been a little bit more of a savvy agent, I could have potentially shown her 45 homes.
Yeah.
Now you can say all day long, I don't want to lose an opportunity. Had I shown her 45 homes, I would have lost an opportunity. Instead, I changed her mindset immediately. We focused on XYZ area instead of this part. And we focused on maybe a different style of home. And because I was able to reset that mindset, I think I ended up showing them like 4 houses altogether. And we're putting in an offer.
Nice.
Because I was able to just say, let's go. And let me tell you, doing 45 payments while you're trying to also help other clients is a lot of work. It is a lot,
Yeah,
but
is.
she didn't get buyer fatigue because I was able to say, this is what we need to do. So, I know I said suck it up, buttercup, and that sounds really heartless, but the truth is, suck it up, buttercup. Let's do this. Let's
Oh
find
my
you a
God,
house.
you're so funny. You're so funny.
I'm here for it, sister. Don't get tired. Let's go. Let's go. Don't get tired. Let's go. That's how I feel. Don't get tired. Let's go.
And don't mean this in a derogatory sense. I'm a work smarter, not harder. I don't want you to give up on your dreams if we can find it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or make it.
That's what I did on this last buyer. Like, I worked smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
Had I allowed buyer fatigue to even be an option, we would not have had her as a buyer.
Absolutely. Well, not just that. I mean, every buyer's different. Every buyer's capacity for looking at homes is different. It always starts out fun and woo-woo. And it eventually gets a little like, okay, so is this what I got to work with? You know, sometimes it does get there. It really does.
Yeah.
And then it's a reassess point. But I like your approach.
I like to reassess very quickly, though. I like to reassess at the beginning. I'm not going to show you 70 houses and then us reassess. I will probably allow one time of us going out, and then we are having a very real, very honest, maybe a little in your face, but it's going to be brutally honest from me. But here's the thing. I'm going to find you a house. I'm going to find it. If you will suck it up, buttercup, and you'll put your boots on, I'm going to find you a house. It's going to happen. And it's going to be the house you want. True.
I think with the exception of people coming in from out of state on a very short timeline to find something, I kind of put a limit on how many houses I'm willing to show someone in one day.
How many are you willing to show?
5.
That's me. 5.
No more than 5.
I'll throw in 1 if we find one. If we find
along
one
the
while
way,
we're out showing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Along the way, if something presents itself. Yeah.
Yes.
Because they all start running together. You can't remember which house had what and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So 5 in one day, unless you're coming from out of town.
Yeah. I did 12 that one day, and it was very hard, and she was very tired. And I've had to do that before with another out-of-state buyer, and thankfully we found a house, but we had like 13 on the list, and at 8 he's like, how many more do we have? I was like, well.
You're like, well, I mean, I kind of set up a whole tour.
Yeah, he had one day. He had one day. That was it. Oh. And I said, well, how many more do you have in you? He's like, I don't think I have any more in me. I was like, all right, well, what do we do? Well, they bought a house from that day, so we did good.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, I will do it. Jana, I will do it. I'll get you.
Of course.
I'll get you there.
I had one client that came in last month, and she's shopping with mom, and her and mom are both going to buy the house, but her and mom have very differing opinions on neighborhoods and house styles and wants and needs. Mom lives in a $1.8 million mansion of a beautiful home, and her daughter's moving here from a 1-bedroom apartment that she shares with 5 other people in Portland, Oregon. Dramatically different lifestyles, okay?
A little bit.
And
a little bit.
So we've looked at, over the course of her 7 days here, we looked at 47 homes.
Gross.
Yeah, it's a slog. It's a slog. It's tough.
Yeah.
That's what we do,
That's
though.
hard. It is what we do.
Okay.
True story.
Similar kind of concept. Another question that we got, and we kind of put these together because they work together. Someone asked, I'm tired of putting in offers that aren't being accepted. What can I do to strengthen my offers? And we haven't seen that in the last maybe 2 or 3 months, unless the houses have been priced like really, really well, which, let's be honest, most of them are still like not priced right. But we are going to be coming up on this again. So I think it's a very timely question. What do you do?
I can tell you, I don't often struggle. This is, gosh, it's going to sound so bad, but I don't often struggle with this. I guess I don't really know what it is. Maybe it's the more relationship.
In a crowd of 30 offers, how do you stand out?
So to me, it's not always the offer that stands out, right? To me, it's the relationship that stands out. So a couple of years ago, I had an agent on my team, and they said, you put in all these offers and they get accepted for your buyers consistently, and you're getting all these contracts. And I've put offers on, I think at that point he had put offers on like 12 houses for this buyer, and they hadn't gotten any of them. And I said, what's the listing agent's dog's name? And they looked at me like I was insane. And they were like, I don't understand the question. I said, have you ever stopped to talk to the listing agent? Mm-hmm. Have you ever stopped to form any sort of a relationship with the listing agent in order to help win that contract? I'll be honest, Jana, I like this job for the relationship side of things. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't always work because not every agent is willing to build a relationship. But if you're putting in a strong offer that's equal to another offer, but you've formed a relationship with that listing agent and they like you, they know you, they trust you, the odds of them, encouraging or saying, I like this agent, this is an easier agent to work with, to their seller, you're going to have a better time. On the listing side, when I have to deal with an agent that I've dealt with before that I'm like, this agent's a jerk, I'm dealing with that right now. My sellers, actually, I kind of sent them some screenshots of the client's answers just so they could see what I was dealing with. And their response was, is this agent just a total jerk? Yeah, they are. So they literally said, we don't want to take this offer because they're so rude. So I don't know how to tell somebody to strengthen their offer because I usually try to go in with terms that are already very strong.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of times agents are forgetting that relationship side. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily how do we tell consumers to put in better offers. Sometimes it's how do we tell agents to be nicer?
To stop being dicks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will say when we were in that crazy time, I would tell my buyers, I'm like, okay, if we are one of 8 to 10 offers, I know that relationship will matter. I know it will. It'll come into play 100%. We're strong on financing. We're strong on down payment. We can play in this field, basically. It's going to come down to the relationship that I have with that other agent. And it amazes me how many agents to this day still think that is bullshit. And it's like, it's not bullshit. It's not.
It's so important.
Huge. If you're a screaming dick, I mean, it's going to be really hard for me to like advocate for your offer. Now, I will say this. If we're more than 8 to 10 offers, I gotta be honest, your relationship doesn't fucking matter at that point. It doesn't.
No, not at that point.
At that point, the seller's like, oh my God, look at everything I have to choose from. And they're going to fucking pick the offer that brings them the most money. And they're going to tell you. And I'll tell them the same thing. I'm like, listen, you have dealer's choice here. So take what you think is best for you. I will manage the shit show in terms of whatever I have to deal with. So don't let that come into the equation. Take what you want out of this. Let's go back and counter a couple of them, see if we can't get them up more. You know what I mean? Like, let's do all those things. But from a buyer's perspective, I do think there are some things that buyers should do. And I think there are some things that buyers should not do to help their offers get more accepted. And a couple of them seem really simple. Pick an agent that has worked in that area that you want to be.
Yeah.
Because as much as agents, we have this huge metro area that we work in, and you and I both will go wherever our client wants to live and wherever we feel comfortable representing their best interests. Don't get me wrong. If I have someone that's looking in an area that I don't know anything about, I'm going to refer them. I will. But focus on an agent that has sold in the area that you want to be in, that has experience. If the agent themselves doesn't have a lot of experience, but they're on a team where the team leader has a lot of experience, then they're the same person. Just let that be. So find experienced people because they are going to have more than likely positive relationships. And 3, interview. But when you're putting in your offer, just know when you're competing at 10 plus offers, it's all about the Benjamins. It just is. It does come down to terms. Relationship doesn't matter at that point. I mean, it can have a little bit, but
really it has a little weight still, but not as much. Yeah. Yeah. Well, also, I forgot to say this. When that agent that was on my team, when I told them, like, what's the listing agent's dog's name? The very next offer, I think they were like 3rd highest. And they got that offer accepted.
Yeah.
And they called me and they were like, oh my gosh, like it worked. This agent and I are best friends now. And so it's to me, that it really does make a difference.
And if you have experience, you probably worked with those agents before. So they know you're a known quantity at that point. They know what they're going to get.
Exactly. And see, here's the thing. You and I could sit here all day and be like, do as-is inspections and do a higher earnest money and do non-refundable earnest money and close in 21 days. Like we could give all the standard terms, but at the end of the day, pick the right agent. I don't know how else to say that. And I like the thought, the experience part of it that you said. Even if they're newer agents, if they're on a team that has a team lead that's experienced and hands-on.
Yeah. Good point. And hands-on. Yeah.
And hands-on. That's super important. I mean, I know I support my agents Like I will show up for them for whatever time, day, doesn't matter, issue. And that's important. And they have to know, Moxie's got their back, and agents on other agents outside of their contracts or in their contracts also know, okay, Moxie's involved with this. And I've had to step in a couple times, but that's important, is experience too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, that is our questions that we have got. We got quite a few more. We're going to save those for the next episode.
Send more questions.
And you can send them however. You can tweet them to us, DM them to us, text us to them, email them, whatever. Comment on the Facebook post. I don't care. Just get them to us. We love these.
Pigeon carrier pigeon. What are they called? Pigeon bird?
I think it's pigeon carrier, yes.
Okay, can I tell my story? Can I tell my story?
Tell your story,
okay.
lady. Go on.
Okay, I am a terrible human, and I feel really bad about this, and I'm not proud of it, but we spilled the tea here, right?
We do.
I mean,
we are keeping it real.
Did you know we had a Chiefs game the other day?
I did.
Did you know that it was the coldest game at the Chiefs Stadium in history of the Chiefs?
It was, yeah. Fourth coldest in the NFL history.
In the NFL
history.
True story. NFL history. Okay, so I don't like the cold.
You didn't go into the game, did you?
Can I tell my story? I don't like the cold. Did you know I didn't like the cold?
I couldn't tell.
We did our tailgate, and our tailgate was about 60 degrees Fahrenheit inside the tailgate. So it was really nice. I double thermaled. Well, I accidentally came across a bottle of moonshine.
Oh, no.
And Crown Royal.
Both of them?
And I thought that they would mix well together.
So you got fucked up.
It was apple pie moonshine. So here's the deal. I'm going to justify this with I'm not a drinker. Okay. I don't drink often. One glass of wine and I'm like, oh, I'm tipsy. I'm good. It's just not really a thing that I am heavy into. And so while we're waiting in line to get into the tailgate, we got there really early. We waited 3 hours to even get inside the parking lot. Our guy in our tailgate fired up a grill, and he had hot dogs. So we had hot dogs, and that was the extent of my food intake for the day.
No.
Was one hot dog at about 10:30, and the game was at 7 p.m. And so we didn't make it in the game.
Yeah.
True story.
I don't doubt that. I don't, especially if you have a hot tent. Fuck it.
Well,
sit in the tent.
The hot tent, no, the hot tent gets taken down. So everybody goes inside from our tailgate and they take down our tents. So we had like 8 tents put together.
So wait, you robbed Kenny of his ability to be on the Jumbotron in the first playoff game? You robbed him of this?
I did. So apparently when he came to get me, I was getting ready to go inside. And apparently I was trying to put on his jersey inside out and like ripping it in half. It's not my jersey. I don't ever wear it. And he's like, when you did that, I knew we weren't going in. And so I woke up in the front seat of the truck at halftime. And we were still in the parking lot, and he was just sitting in the truck listening to the game on the radio. And we're still in the parking lot. And I was like, Kenny, let's go in. And he's like, no, I already gave our seats to somebody else. So he had some friends that were sitting in the 300s, gave them our seats. And so they went down and sat. And yeah, so I don't like the cold. And the moral of the story is I am a terrible wife. And I will never do that again. But snow days are not my fun days. I do not like them.
Oh my gosh.
So
yeah.
I know. There's my off the record. Don't tell anybody, okay? It's our little secret.
Oh, that's so sad.
I told him he could go in. He could have left me there.
You're like, leave my ass here. I'll freeze in the truck.
I don't care. Yeah, I was fine, girl.
Yeah, we'll take a gas. We're good.
I know. I was so. So, anyways, go Chiefs.
I think that says more about Kenny, though. I mean, he stayed in the truck with you. How sweet is that?
I know. He said he wasn't going to leave me. So he just sat there with me. And then drove me home, and we got Wendy's on the way home.
Celebrated the win with Wendy's. Yeah. I love it.
So what have you been doing with your snow days?
Oh my God. I've been sick with COVID.
Ew. Gross.
Yeah. And it's the new and improved COVID. The one that doesn't just affect your sinuses and your lungs, but also affects your GI tract.
Oh yeah.
So that's been super awesome.
Love that.
And it spreads so much faster because everybody in my family got sick. So we've spent the better part of the last week and a half pretty much laying in bed, sitting in bed, laying in bed, working in bed,
Oh, man.
pretty much.
Not far away from your toilet, right?
Not far at all,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah. And it's been so freaking cold and our house is a little drafty. Anyway, so that's what I've been doing for my snow days. It's been super fabulous. But hey,
Yeah.
we'll get it out of our system.
Yeah, that's true. That's how I felt about it. One of our pipes is frozen.
Oh,
in our house.
Do you have a heater on it?
Oh, yeah, girl. It had a heater before it froze, and it still froze. It freezes every year. Every year it freezes. Our master bathroom shower is ex-nayed right now. It doesn't exist. Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
So then my tenants are like, my pipes are frozen. And I'm like, mine are too.
You're like, congratulations.
I can't help.
Do not let them burst, please.
Yeah, and if they do, call me. I mean, what do you do, Jana? What do? There's nothing. You can't go ask the ground to thaw. I mean, it's not an option.
Well, it was 2 years ago. We had our cottages, our Airbnbs out in Stockton. And it was the first time in a long time that it had ever gotten that cold in Stockton. And it was like, -8 degrees or something like that for 2 days.
With a wind chill
straight.
of like -35 or something.
In Stockton,
It was
which
horrible.
you never see snow, like not never,
Yeah.
rarely ever see snow. And the pipes from our well burst underground up to the 2 cottages. So, well,
Oh
up to
my
one.
gosh.
One of them burst. Yeah, that was super freaking fun. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I've been up to. But hey, let's talk about
Gross.
some local news.
Okay, I only have one local news to talk about.
Yeah, you came across one hell of a story, so let's talk about it.
Yeah. So people may have seen it on the news, legit on the news, but it came across my news feed on my Facebook, as most of us acquire our news, and I was shocked.
That's where I get all my news.
I mean, honestly, let's be honest, that's where I watch a lot of stuff. I was shocked, Jana. So let me just read the title really fast. Okay, the title is Grain Valley Homeowners Learn They're Facing a $250,000 balloon payment on a community pool. Okay, so let me break this down. $250,000. The developer was the one that had like control of the HOA essentially. And I don't understand if time lapses or they're far enough into the process of building, and that's when it actually turns over into the actual association. But at some point, a builder is no longer responsible for the big stuff in that property or in that subdivision. And so it turns over to the HOA officially. Well, this is turned over to the HOA. You ready for this? They had no idea that there was a $292,000 loan that had been taken out for the pool. So the developer took out this loan and then it's been slowly paid back. Well, there's still a $252,000 balance on this loan. And now the developer is swapping it over to the HOA and they're like, wait a second, we now have this gigantic loan that we have to deal with that no one told us about. So it's quite a disaster. It's quite a disaster. And you ready for this? And the next summer, that is this coming summer,
2024,
the payment is due in full.
Oh shit.
Huh? What? Huh? What? Huh? What?
They could refi that though, couldn't they? The HOA
They probably
could.
will have to. The problem is they're thinking about having to do a reassessment or a special assessment for $3,000. For $3,000 per family. So, I mean, that's not horrible. I've heard way worse in the HOAs in downtown.
Condos,
where they're having like $25,000 assessments. So $3,000, it would be in that price range. And they're saying, most families can't do that. But, those HOAs downtown, they amortize those over like a 7-year period. So it just went into your monthly HOA payment. They could simply do that here, which is no big deal. But I think people forget that HOAs have more control than what you would ever expect. And they can do stuff, especially if you don't go and vote in their meetings, they can do stuff without your permission, essentially, that you're then liable for.
Don't they have an obligation to disclose?
Girl, there's a reason this was on the news, okay? I cannot understand how the homeowners did not know that there was a $292,000 loan taken out.
Right.
And that $252,000 is due this summer. I have no idea how they didn't know that.
So I know in a lot of the new construction communities, and to be perfectly frank, I don't do a ton of new construction. I do like maybe 5 or 6 a year, but not very many. I know that happens quite frequently in new construction communities where the HOA is developer owned at that point.
Yeah.
But typically they have to provide a prospectus or some kind of financial documentation about the state of the development. And so I
Yeah.
find it hard to believe that they hid that, glossed over it.
Here's the other thing that's interesting, and I'll read this. We've talked about what our options are, what we can do. We talked about potentially taking legal action, but the HOA has no money for an attorney. What? So this HOA is just absolutely
Defunct.
Yeah, completely.
Oh my gosh.
Completely. Yeah. So it's interesting, it's you think HOAs are good, and some of them are really well run, but you just got to be careful getting into an HOA situation because things like that can happen.
Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely got to
So-
watch those and ask lots of really good questions. There was an agent recently who had a client was buying a condo in a building that I happen to know. They have some pretty steep special assessments heading their way, and they aren't disclosing them
Mhm.
because they haven't been voted on yet. But it just kind of comes down to when you see that many apartments or condos coming up for sale in a building at the same time, you got to ask yourself,
Yeah.
what's going
There's a
on
reason.
here? There's something going
Mhm.
on there. Well, they know.
Yeah.
And they should disclose, but you know how that goes. Well, good luck to that HOA and
I know.
the residents.
And I actually have a homeowner in that same subdivision.
Oh,
So I'm
man.
interested to see how that all plays out. So I'm actually going to a comedy show with them on Friday. So I'll ask them, what's the news? What's the scoop? Spill
Maybe
the
have a
tea.
drink first and you'll get all the tea.
Ugh, I don't want to ever drink again.
You're over. I mean, let's be honest. Mixing moonshine and Crown Royal. You're cruising for a bruising, babe.
It tasted really good.
I bet.
It was delicious.
Apple
it was
pie
delicious.
moonshine and Crown Royal.
Mm. Mm. Ugh.
It's like a cinnamon crunch. Just Wendy's for that. Anyway,
I hope nobody judges me that I didn't make it into the game.
no.
I'm so sorry, Kitty.
I will say there were so freaking many people posting pictures, and I'm like, has anybody had an update on the two men who were basically naked the entire game? Like,
I don't know. I did see that they actually had to treat 2 people for frostbite.
did see that hypothermia, 7 people.
Yeah, it's 7. Okay, yeah, I wasn't for sure how many. So yeah, people did get cold.
Yeah, a lot of speculation about that man's nipples.
No, none at all.
Moxie's like, I don't care.
Okay, well, now that we're done with that.
Love it.
All
Love
right,
it.
Jana. Well, make it a great day, sister.
Deuces. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
We know you're probably potty watching or avoiding doing something domestic today, and we're glad you found us instead.
If you've got a crazy real estate story to share,
Burning questions you want the real tea spilt on.
or maybe you want to sponsor our little production, we want to hear from you. Shoot us an email so that we can collaborate. And until next time, guys,
We'll be a hot mess, and you keep doing you, boo-boo.
make it a great day.